Everyone, welcome to S Cube TV. My name is Rajni, and today on the show, I have with me again a very special guest. Her name is Katie Matthews. She is a mental health trainer and a multi award winning entrepreneur, global mindset educator, speaker, and also a founder. Today on the show, we are going to speak with her about mental health and the importance of mental health in this lockdown, in this pandemic. But before, let's welcome her to S Cube TV. Hi,
Thanks so
Katie. Welcome
much.
to S Cube TV.
Hello, Rajni. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for taking your time out and coming to S Cube TV. It's so good to have you back.
And thanks so much for the invite. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Katie, you are so many things, which is why I think I just got, I did bit of fumbling because you are too many things. Multi-award winning entrepreneur, mental health trainer, global mindset educator, speaker, founder, so many things. But today on this special episode, we are going to talk about, mental health and the importance of mental health during pandemic and during this lockdown. Without wasting any time, Katie, my very first question to you is, if you can please tell us the job of a mental health trainer.
Yes, absolutely, of course. So I started the Mind Tribe, as you can see from my virtual details, 2 years ago. And I just wanted to bring my lived experience to the professional and the training space. So I have 12 years lived in and living experience with mental illness. I was diagnosed with depression when I was 17 and then diagnosed with anxiety when I was 22. And for me, it's something that I'm really, really passionate about from both a personal perspective, but also in educating other people. And that's where obviously the mental health trainer then sort of came from, if you like. So my role within that training, firstly, is to educate, of course, so it's to provide information, to ensure that we're kind of using correct terminology, understanding of the facts and figures, kind of where we are at the moment, but then also looking at ways, well, how can we move forward? How can we still, how can we be more empathic? How can we be more understanding? How can we support people more effectively with their mental health? Because unfortunately, there is that stigma that still surrounds mental health and mental illness. And that's another thing, straight away there, you can see I've said both mental health and mental illness, because mental health is something that everybody has, and a lot of the time we hear people say things like, oh,
yes,
you will,
exactly, like physical health.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And a lot of the time when people say mental health, they don't mean mental health, they mean mental illness or mental ill health, but they kind of use the terms interchangeably. So even that as a starting point is fabulous, that getting people to think about the power of their words and the terminology that we're using in relation to mental health and mental illness. But then also equipping people with those skills, with the knowledge, but also tangible things that they can take away. So I love people to come away from my sessions with, or away from, whether it's sessions, whether it's workshops, whether it's courses, that they come away with real strategies and practical things that they can use and implement straight away. So it's not just a case of coming along and listening to somebody for an hour or 2 hours and then going home. It's actually engaging with the activities and going, do you know what? I haven't actually tried that before. And then, trying to implement it, whether it's for themselves, whether it's for educators, within a school environment, whether it's for parents in a family home. So it's quite a broad spectrum of things that I would cover within that. But as I say, I absolutely love it. And I think, if we can hold space for people as well, to make themselves vulnerable voluntarily, I think there's power in that, to go, do you know what? I don't know what to say. I have been struggling with this, or I don't know who to talk to. When people come and do that, they're taking ownership then of their own healing. And that's incredible to see. And I'm able to then say, right, well, we can do this, or let's look at signposting you to different support services. So yeah, that's that's the long-winded way of saying what I do.
Okay, great. That's absolutely great. And also, Katie, you actually mentioned the difference between mental illness and mental health. Mental health is something that everyone has, exactly like physical health. So, which is
Absolutely.
a great point. Yeah, which is a great point to, to actually let people know about. And also,
Hmm.
I would like to ask you that how do we educate? Because, when we talk about mental health or mental, let's suppose we are talking about mental illness. So
Hmm.
we actually tend to use the word mental health quite a lot. I think because of the wrong choice of words or because of the
Hmm.
lack of knowledge about it. So how do we educate people about it?
Well, I think firstly it starts with introspection. So actually looking at yourself, and looking at the way that you interact with people. Because the thing is, if we want to see change, we have to model that behavior. We have to embrace that change ourselves. So if you do use a word incorrectly, there's no problem in
Hmm.
correcting yourself. And I still do it
Yeah.
sometimes. I might say mental health and I'll go, oh no, sorry, mental illness, and correct myself, and that's okay, because sometimes we slip, or
Hmm.
sometimes, there's a force of habit. Um, but that's what I think where it starts,
Hmm.
is looking inwards first, but then sharing that learning with other people and looking externally then. And it doesn't mean, that we have to critique people, or we have to say, right, well, you're wrong. You're completely wrong. Why are you saying that? We
Hmm.
can do it in a positive way and say, did you know that? And start having the
In a
conversations, or
polite way.
exactly, or, have you ever considered it from this perspective? Or actually, the way you said their mental health, that's actually something that everyone has. Do you mean mental illness, which is the diagnosed version, if you like, so you can come back with a couple of
Yeah.
questions, but you can see the way I asked it there isn't confrontational. I'm not trying to
Hmm.
say, right, well, I'm right on everything and you're wrong. It's, let's
Yeah.
talk about this and let's see how we can do better and be better, you know? So I think that's the starting point, is start
Hmm.
within, look at yourself, your behaviors, your language use, but then sharing that with other people and sharing those learnings and not being afraid to challenge people in a positive and constructive way.
Okay, okay, got it. You explained it so beautifully. And I think not a lot of people actually know about this major difference that we have in these two words. So thank you so much for explaining that so beautifully. So now,
No
Katie,
problem.
moving on to my next question, which is, I would say, a bit of, we actually consider it a quite simple question, but I don't think it's a simple question. I think it's a tough question. But
Hmm.
so I actually would like to ask you, because you are the better person to answer about it. So my question to you is, how to always stay positive.
Hmm. Well, to be honest, I actually think that being positive all the time isn't necessarily a good thing, because
Okay.
that, I know that may sound strange to come back with straight away, but there's this notion, I don't know if you've heard of it or if any of the listeners have heard it before, about toxic positivity, where we're so conditioned to all the time that you always have to be positive and you always have to be optimistic. But the thing is, as humans, we're not built that way naturally.
True.
We have such a wide range of emotion, and all of them are
Yeah.
valid. We're allowed to feel that. And there are some days, even myself, yes, I am a very positive and upbeat person on the whole, but there
Hmm.
are some days, when I need to be quiet, or I need to be still, or I need time out on my own, and almost I
Hmm.
need to be sad for a little bit, or I need to be angry, or I need to have a cry, because
Yeah.
that's how we process and that's how we deal with the emotions that we're experiencing. So I think sometimes when we've got this false narrative all the time, if you have to be constantly positive, I think sometimes it actually diminishes people's experiences, and
Hmm.
sometimes almost makes people feel as if their emotions maybe aren't valid.
Hmm.
So, I think it's important for us to experience all our emotions. But I think the key part is that once you have experienced that and you've worked through it and you've, got yourself to a place where you feel a bit more grounded, or perhaps back to, I don't want to say the word normal, but,
Hmm.
back to sort of more of a level playing field, if you
Yeah.
like, that you can then start to look at the growth mindset approach, which is, okay, well, I was feeling this way and it was negative. So how can I take the learning from that? What did
Hmm.
I learn about myself from that experience? what skills did I demonstrate that I have? Because a lot of the time we have so much grit and so much resilience within us, but of course we don't realize that until it's tested, and I think reflecting on that and going, do you know what, even though that was a negative experience, or even though I felt that, looking back, that emotion was valid, but also, what have I learned from that? What have I learned from negative experiences that I can implement going forward? And I think that's crucial there, is that we don't invalidate people's emotions and we allow people to experience the plethora of feelings that we do have, but working through that and then look into the future. Okay, well, let's take that growth mindset approach. How can we develop from this? How can we learn from this? And then that overall, I think, lifts your mood anyway, because you build that deeper connection with yourself. And I think that's a lot of that's where a lot of issues come from, I think, as well, is that we don't have a secure identity about who we are as individuals. What we believe in, what our values are, what our vision is, what our purpose is. And I know some of those sound a wee bit cliche, they're a bit overused, but in their true form and their true meaning, that's what makes us human. That's what makes us part of society and part of communities.
True.
So again, long-winded answer, but I like to talk, so
Definitely. And also, I think, Katie, you explained it beautifully, because, to enjoy sunlight, we actually have to go through the darkness. Only then we will know, the real meaning of sunlight, and then only we'll be able to enjoy the sunlight. So you actually mentioned, explained it beautifully. Also, but Katie, also, I would like to know from you that during this pandemic, earlier, before the pandemic happened, before the lockdown happened, we always used to, run away from ourselves. We always used to, run behind the world or run with the world, and we never used to meet ourselves. But but because of the lockdown and the pandemic, what actually happened is we got a lot of time with ourselves. So we actually met ourselves. So and at that particular time, we realized what we feel and what we like, what we dislike, and some people actually could not handle it.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah,
Especially,
it's difficult.
Especially I would say, especially the extroverts. They could not handle it. So at that particular moment, when you are going through such a turmoil, what should we do?
Well, there's a few things that you can do this, but of course, the thing is, with your relationship with yourself, it's very personal, and I know that may sound obvious, but of course it's with me, but it's a very personal thing. So for some people, their development journeys and that self.
Katie, I'm not able to hear you actually.
Oh, is that disconnected there?
A problem. 1 second.
Yours was cutting in and out a wee bit there.
In 1 second.
No. No, so connecting with ourselves is a difficult thing to do anyway, because we are the only person that we always have to live with.
Exactly.
So that idea of kind of making friends with yourself is so important, because the only voice we're never ever going to be able to escape is the voice in our heads.
Yeah.
So for me, during the pandemic, that was the perfect time to sit back and do some of that difficult work, if you like, to sit down and look at, okay, what support do I actually need? What do I value in my life? What is important to me? And I think for all of us, we've had that little bit of time to stop and reflect and go, well, actually, these are my priorities. This is what I value in life. And because of that, then we're able to put in place the support or the steps that we need to achieve the things that we want to. So if you're particularly struggling with mental ill health or mental illness, I would say the first thing, reach out for some sort of support. It doesn't matter if it's speaking to a friend, a partner. You could go to the doctors, to the GPs, whether it's engaging with counselling services, holistic therapies, whether it's at home and you're doing things like yoga and mindfulness activities, meditation, breath work is fantastic as well. You know, and there's so many different types of activities that are great for well-being. So this is what I was saying earlier, you know, about it's a very personal relationship, and that some things that work for some people won't work for you, and that's okay. You know, it's finding what does work for you. So there's some activities that I've tried and I've gone, oh no, I didn't like that one. But then I've tried a different one and gone, that one works for me. So, you know, on YouTube, you can get fabulous resources. You can get free meditation videos. You can get free yoga workshops. You know, if you go on my website this day, you can get free mindfulness coloring and worksheets, you know, that support positive mental health, growth mindset development. Even anything at all that for you acts as some sort of self-care, I think is important as well. Because a lot of the time we feel very guilty when we stop and do nothing. So, you know, when we sit and we're not doing anything, we're thinking, oh my goodness, right, well, I should be doing this because somebody else is, and I'm not achieving anything. But within that time, if you're not nourishing yourself and you're not giving yourself time to heal, you're going to reach burnout. You know, and that is truly awful when that does happen, because that's when you're at breaking point then. You know, so if we can try and take those small little steps every day, and whether it's, you know, doing 2 minutes of mindfulness, whether it's sitting down and reading a book for 10 minutes, whether it's changing the bed sheet, putting on some nice pajamas, you know, it doesn't have to be big things that we're doing, but all those little things every day, they start to add up, you know, and we start to see our mood is lifting. And I think expressing gratitude as well. And it doesn't have to be publicly, if that makes sense. You know, it's a very private thing. So you could just have a journal where you write things down. You might just sit and reflect and think before you go to sleep at night. You know, you could think about, right, what am I grateful for today? What happened today that I loved or that made me happy? And it doesn't have to be, as I say, big expensive things, you know, that, oh, we went away on this trip or we went here, because at the moment we can't really go anywhere still. But the place where we can go, or the place where we can go other places, if you like, is in our minds, because we have an imagination. You know, so that's been one of the things that has really helped me during lockdown, is visualizing and just going through some, you know, like positive memories and things that I enjoy doing, and then also looking towards the future and going, oh, I can't wait to be able to do that again. That's going to be fantastic. And you know, I think there's so many facets or so many aspects to this, but again, it's finding what works for you. Because, you know, if you are in that position where you're feeling very, very unwell, whether that's physically or mentally, we need time to heal first. And that for me was a really, really crucial thing as well, in terms of my own recovery and my journey to recovery. And I'm still on that journey now. You know, I'm still trying to heal currently. I have living experience with mental illness, but I think having conversations like this as well is really powerful, because people can look and go, oh, she has depression at the moment, she has anxiety at the moment, and seeing that, you know, you can still live the life that you want to live, even if you do have a diagnosis or if you do have a condition. But it's learning how to manage that. It's learning what makes you feel comfortable, what restores your energy, what makes you feel positive, what brings joy to your life, and what you value. And just taking that dedicated time out, I think, to nurture yourself, connect with yourself, and then look and search for that support that you need and that you're going to find the most beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. And also, you know, in times like these where people are struggling to get one more day to live, you know, they are just praying for it, you know, to get even an hour to live. So, and we are, if we are alive and we are living so happily and we are with our family, I think that should be enough for us to have gratitude
Yeah,
towards, yeah. And also,
absolutely.
yeah. And Katie, I actually was also, also wanted to ask you that, when in times like these, when people are going through so much and people are losing their loved ones, and I mean, so much is happening around them,
Hmm.
and in such a deep level. At that time, they just don't want to get out of their bed.
Yeah.
And so, how do we convince them to, to actually go see a mental health trainer or go for counseling? So, how do we convince them?
Hmm. Well, I think it's very difficult because I know myself that when I am experiencing the symptoms of mental illness much more severely, that it can be very, very hard for anyone to
Mm-hmm.
get me to do anything that I don't want to do. So I
Yeah.
think it takes a bit of empathy as well to build a relationship first, to understand, why they're feeling this way. And it doesn't necessarily mean we go in and we go,
Mm-hmm.
right, what's wrong? Tell me everything that's happening. We can drop little
Yeah.
seeds. You know that I'm here to support you. If there's anything that you need at all, we can look at some support together. Would it be helpful
Yeah.
for you if I did this?
Mm-hmm.
Would you find it beneficial if I came with you and did that, or if I did that for you, perhaps? So
Okay.
a lot of the time with mental illness, you feel as if you're very alone, and you feel as if you're the only person that could possibly have experienced it that severely. And the thing is, everybody experiences it again in their own way,
Yeah.
so there's no sort of like blanket answer. But what I would say is asking them what support they need. And sometimes they'll say, I don't know. They'll
Mm-hmm.
say, I don't know what support I need. Because I was like, I don't know. I just feel sad all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not enjoying my life. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand why I'm here, what my purpose is. And there would have been days where I was the same. I wouldn't have got out of bed, wouldn't have brushed my teeth, wouldn't have had a shower, and everything was difficult. So
Mm-hmm.
I think celebrating yourself as well when you do make those small little achievements, because when you are that ill, they are
Yeah.
achievements. It takes so much energy to mentally prepare yourself, if you like, to get up because you feel so
Mm-hmm.
low and worthless, and
Yeah.
that everything's pointless. And I think what I try and do is I just try and take it one day at a time, and break it down. If it needs to be hour by hour, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. If it needs to be minute by minute, that's fine
Mm-hmm.
as well. Whatever you need to do to make sure that you stay here, basically, and stay alive, because we are so blessed in that we are still here. And there's so many
Yeah.
people, unfortunately, that aren't. And we have another opportunity. Every day that
Mm-hmm.
we wake up, we have another opportunity to make things better. And
Mm-hmm.
whether, that is a huge change that happens, or whether it's tiny little 1% improvements every day, they all add
Mm-hmm.
up. So you may not be in that same position in 2 months' time or 3 months' time. You might
Mm-hmm.
still be in that position, and that's okay too. We don't have to feel
Yeah.
as if we've failed because we haven't got to the end of the journey, if that makes sense. So as I say, I'm still healing. There's still a lot of stuff
Yeah.
I have to work through, and I still have my diagnoses. So it's not a case of, oh, I'm standing here as somebody that's preaching almost, to go, right, well, this is what you do and that's it. Because there
Mm-hmm.
is no one answer for everybody.
Yeah.
But I do think celebrating those little things that you're achieving on a daily basis. So if I was able to get out of bed, I would literally say to myself in my head, well done, because I know how
Mm-hmm.
difficult that was for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well done for making yourself eat something. Well
Yeah.
done for having a shower. Well done for brushing your teeth. And well done for making that phone call and reaching out. And celebrating all those little things that we're doing, because when you do that, you are supporting yourself and your own
Mm-hmm.
well-being, and you're also then making it easier to continue with that healing journey, because other
Mm-hmm.
people know then what support you need and how you're feeling.
Wow. Wow, amazing, amazing. Because so in such a simple words, in such you have explained, and and it is so true that celebrating small things about you is
Mhm.
actually self-love, self-care, and self-support, which is very much important than supporting others. Or you'll be only able to support others if you support yourself.
Yeah.
So that is, in such simple words, you explained so beautifully. So, Katie, I actually want to know. Yeah. So I actually also wanted to know from you that should there be a cognitive behavioral pattern one should follow to have a good mental health?
I think it's very difficult, again, to give a blanket answer because, as we've said many times, it's a very individual thing. But what I try to do when I am feeling, emotional, or if I feel a bit unsettled,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, I allow myself to experience it. I permit myself. I
Okay.
literally give myself permission to experience that emotion. So
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden that burden, that guilt comes away from it. It's okay that I'm feeling this.
Okay.
And then I sit and I reflect on that and I go, well, hold on. I need to recognize if there was a trigger here. What started that? Did I have a thought? Did I hear
Mm-hmm.
something? Did somebody say something? Was there something that happened to trigger that? And
Yeah.
sometimes you won't be able to, just go, oh, yeah, I know it was that. But there may be sometimes where you go, do you know what? Yeah, this happened this morning. Then, sorry, the train's going past my house. Um, they might say, this happened this morning. Then so and so said this to me, and it all just built up, and now I just feel really stressed and in a bad mood.
Mm-hmm.
It could be as simple as that, but of course there could be a whole wide range of deeper issues going on. There could be experience of trauma or abuse, or negative experiences or things that have happened. So that wouldn't, in my opinion, necessarily be something that you would just be able to work through by yourself. I mean, in my experience, I wasn't able
Mm-hmm.
to just work through it on my own. I had to get a counsellor, and
Yeah.
I went to somebody that was a trauma specialist because of the things that I'd experienced. And because she was specialised in that area, she was then
Mm-hmm.
able to get me out of that really dark place and into a place where I could function again. And then that's what I was talking about earlier. You need to do that healing bit first to
Mm-hmm.
allow you to then flourish, to allow you to go on and grow. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're in that healing space, it's so difficult for you to then start doing things like that growth mindset development. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
experiencing panic attacks, your first thought isn't going to be, what can I learn from this?
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's a case of, I'm having a panic attack. I need something that's going to bring me back down to my, normal
Yeah.
level. It's going to make me feel grounded again. So I think it kind of depends where you are in terms of your
Mm-hmm.
journey. But I would always say, get the support that you need to allow you to do the healing. But then once you have kind of started on that journey where you're in a position that you feel that you can function again a little bit more, then you can start to think about, okay, well, what can I learn from this?
Mm-hmm.
What worked for me? And you can start doing more of that reflective work that will then help you to continue to grow and to develop them.
Okay, okay, okay. Great, great points and great explanation. But with this, I also would like to ask from you, Katie, that would you say that consumption of alcohol or overuse of drugs, not just overuse, but the use of drugs, to tame your emotions down, because especially the youth, what they do is to tame their emotions down and to
Hmm.
calm themselves down, go they actually take help of drugs,
Hmm.
marijuana and all these things. So do you think consumption of alcohol or drugs, or even for that matter, eating junk, would
Hmm.
also hamper your mental health?
Massively. There is definitely a connection there. We know that anyway. We know there's a connection
Okay.
between mental illness and substance misuse, because substance
Yeah.
misuse is, the symptom a lot of the time of that, that there's something that they're trying to work through, or something that they're trying to mask, or perhaps dull, sensations or
Yeah.
feelings. I have experience of this in my family. We have a few relatives that struggle with addiction, and they have the coexisting conditions then. So, they have the addiction side, but also the mental illness as well. And it's so difficult when you have those comorbidities, because you're saying, well,
Yeah.
what do we tackle first? And the thing is, that's where a lot of the issues are, particularly in the UK at the moment, is that there's a very separate approach. It's like, well, we deal with one or we deal with the other. We deal with this first or this first. But the problem is they're so interlinked and so interdependent
Yeah.
on each other as well,
True.
that you have to deal with both, I think, at the same time.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion. Of course, I'm not a doctor, but that would be my opinion on that. I do think, we use it sometimes as a crux, or we use it as something that helps us in the short term. It helps us temporarily because we can escape that pain, or we can,
Yeah.
go to somewhere different in our minds where we don't have to maybe ruminate, or, go round and round on those same points or
Yeah.
same memories. But when you wake up the next day, or, if you're recovering from the night before, when you wake up, that trauma is still there. Those experiences are still
Yeah.
there, and as much as it is very difficult, because mine would be with eating. I'm such a comfort eater. Like, I'm an emotional eater. So I'll eat if I'm happy. I'll eat if I'm sad. I'll eat if I'm stressed. I'll eat if, no matter what it is. That's my thing that I struggle with, in terms of relationships. But somebody said something to me a few months ago, and it really, really stuck with me. She said that food is fuel, not therapy. Food, I can't even say it myself. Food is fuel, not therapy. And that really stuck with me. And over the lockdown now, I've actually lost 3 stone from changing that relationship that I have with food, and not using it as an outlet, because that's what I was doing. I was using it as something that, right this moment, this makes me feel fantastic. But next week, or in a month's time, when all of that is compounded and I've put on a stone, I'm not going to be feeling fantastic. And not even from just a physical perspective, or even a confidence perspective, but also we know that there's a link between our gut health and what we're eating and our mental health. So even looking at what I was eating and going, okay, well, let's try and increase my vitamin D intake. Let's try and increase my vitamin B12 so that I have more energy, so that my immune system is supported. And again, it's very difficult when you are struggling with addiction of any kind. But I think that's again where you have to do that healing part first. Because if we're able to heal and work through some of the trauma, some of the actual underlying issues, the root causes of the problems, rather than just trying to stick a plaster over something all the time. Somebody could have a broken leg, and sticking a plaster on them isn't going to help. So we need to tackle the root of the problems first that are causing all of these symptoms and all of the behaviors and coping strategies that people are using, whether they are positive or negative, but particularly the negative ones, so that hopefully we can minimize and then hopefully eliminate those, and move then towards more positive coping strategies.
Amazing. And also, rather than suppressing your feelings and emotions and thoughts as we are going through, I think, like you said, it is necessary for you to let it come and let it go, because they are emotions. They are, everything happens in a circle, as they say. So everything, what goes around comes around. So the emotions and thoughts that you're feeling, so instead of suppressing them, instead of escaping from them, you rightly mentioned that we should allow ourselves to actually feel it.
And even though it can be very painful, it's not to say that dealing with any of the trauma and the issues was easy. It was hard. It was challenging. And first of all, it re-triggered some of those symptoms. So it almost had to get slightly worse before it started to get better. But I just kept thinking in my head all the time, you're doing this for the future version of Katie. That's what I kept thinking, is that I'm investing in me so that the future version of me can be happy. So I have to do this now. And I know it's difficult, but you're going to thank yourself. And now I do. I thank myself 2 years down the line that I've been able to heal from a lot of that and get myself in a position now where, you know, I'm able to enjoy success. I'm able to enjoy my life, and I'm not feeling absolutely plagued every day with symptoms, you know, and negative thoughts. So, yes.
Amazing. Also, you know, the way you said that you were investing in the future version of Katie. So, you know, that's an amazing way to look at life, and, you know, that's an amazing way to deal the situation that you're going through. So you actually have to invest in yourself so that your future version would be in a better place. So amazing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Katie, please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that that's something, you know, any work that I do, whether it's with young people, whether it's with adults, it sounds obvious, but what we're doing now informs and supports the person that we're going to be down the line, because, you know, we don't become someone else, we're still ourselves, you know. So it's like whatever groundwork, whatever foundations that we're putting in place now are supporting the future version of you. And like, even if it's little things like at night time, when I charge a headset and I wear this sleep mask thing that plays delta waves and all, so that's another thing I use for healing. But when I forget to do it, I'm like, and I get really annoyed at myself. But then I say, right, tomorrow, make sure you do it. And then when you go to bed, thank yourself. So last night when I did it, I sat down and I was like, yes. And I said, thank you to me, you know, for going, do you know what? Well done earlier for doing that, because you couldn't be bothered walking up the stairs to plug it in, but you did. And now you're grateful for your previous self for what you did. So I think, yeah, again, connecting with yourself and, you know, thanking yourself for the things that you do.
Amazing. That's amazing. And also, you know, Katie, before I let you go, I would like to ask you one last question. So my last question to you for today's episode is, how important do you think mental health, having good mental health, plays an important role in having a successful career?
Definitely. Oh my goodness. Because, you know, as somebody who still lives with mental illness, I would still consider that, you know, without being like, oh, I'm fabulous. I think that, you know, I've still been able to enjoy successes and the things that I wanted to achieve. But I keep bringing it back to that first point about healing, because I wasn't able to do any of this stuff and achieve any of the things that I have done without doing that work first, because I was plagued every day. You know, I didn't leave the house for 6 months. This was before the pandemic, because of mental illness. I was having panic attacks every day. I couldn't speak to people on the phone. I couldn't look people in the eye. I literally like got to a point where I couldn't speak. And, you know, now you can't get me to stop. But I think that's the main thing is, you know, doing that healing first, because then all of a sudden when you're free from that, it allows you to go forward and then flourish. And that's where I've seen the growth then, particularly in relation to my career. So this is something that I share whenever I'm doing, you know, talks just about my life. On the 14th of December 2018, I was 26, and unfortunately with my first business, I went through bankruptcy. So I was declared bankrupt on the 14th of December 2018. So it's only 2 years ago. 14th of December 2019, I came off the bankruptcy register and basically started to like rebuild my life. On the 14th of December 2020, I was appointed as the Northern Ireland National Director for the Global Entrepreneurship Network.
Amazing.
So within those 2 years, I'd gone from being bankrupt, lost everything, suicidal, didn't want to be here anymore. You know, just felt as if everything had gone and fallen apart. But because I went and did that healing part and tackled those root causes and found the things that support my mental health and make me feel good, make me feel positive, and restored my confidence in myself, I was then able to get to that position. And in that time, I've set up 2 voluntary organisations. I've become, as I say, the Northern Ireland National Director. I sit on the police board now as a public appointment. I have 3 businesses, so it's not just me sitting here going, oh my goodness, everything's fab. It wasn't. But
Yeah.
I had to do that healing part first. And that has then allowed me to develop in my career. Because the thing is, when we're in a better place mentally, we're able to interact and communicate better with other people. We understand what other people are going through, but we're able to vocalize more. We feel more confident. We have better self-awareness. And when we develop our self-awareness, it allows us to engage and connect with other people and nurture other people more effectively as well. So in short, yes, I think it does.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Katie. You have come such a long way all by yourself. You have done so much at such a young age. So kudos to you. And
thank you very much.
Of course, you deserve everything in the world. So thank you so much for coming to SQ TV and speaking with us. It was so lovely chatting with you, and we didn't even realize that time went so quickly. So thank you again for coming to SQ TV.
No problem at all. Thanks so much for having me, and I look forward to speaking to you next week.
Surely. Yeah, I too am looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks so
All
much.
right, guys, that's it from SQ TV. Keep on watching and do subscribe to the channel.